uses eCommerce here. We're going to
Sorry
be
about that.
talking to, oh, there we go. It's recording now. So now I need to be careful with what I say. So
That's
we're
right.
going to talk through these five, one per week of this digital online sales cohort that we're going to be doing. So the first week is where we're going to lay out the vision. Like what does it look like you getting on e-commerce? What is the benefits? How can you do it? It's a lot easier than you might think it will be. There's going to be work, but we're going to make that roadway as easy as possible, a road trip. The second one is easy navigation. And taking an allegory from the Lord of the Rings series of books and movies, we're going to be talking about what it takes to actually get from our source to the destination. And albeit the Frodo had a little bit more difficult of a journey than what we're going to have, there still is as allegory there, as we want to help you avoid those pitfalls. And specifically this week, we're going to talk about helping customers navigate almost to that final destination page. We're going to talk about emotional connection, infusing, you might say, a B2C, business to consumer mentality into this website. Because ultimately, if our customers are, if they see a website as transactional, we're missing out on what I believe to be the greatest differentiator of one company versus another company that are selling roughly the same type of widgets. And then finally, we also have to talk about closing the sale. So there was a real quick overview, Kurt, of what we're going to be talking about, and I couldn't be more excited about having these conversations over the next few weeks.
Well, I love it. And again, guys, if you just joined us, I see, hey, my friend Erica, I met Erica last week at the Fuse Hub, the New York MEP workshop last week. Erica, happy Tuesday. Julie's here today. So again, guys, if you're just joining us, drop your LinkedIn, drop your website in the chat box. Let us know where you're coming from. Great opportunity to connect with some new friends here. We've got Whitney, Tom, my friend Tori's here. So, all right, we're going to dive in. And John, let's go here. So you have a great story that you'd like to share. You started from zero. And it's really it can be daunting, challenging, but it doesn't need to be. Can you talk about that e-commerce journey when you got started?
Yeah, before coming over to the agency side, I did work for a distribution company, worked there for 15 years, and we were just like a lot of B2B companies that it was on the roadmap. We knew we wanted to sell online, but we knew nothing about it. I was actually a network admin at that company, so I had a little bit of technical background, but I did not know anything about e-commerce. And so, we worked with an agency. We started a sister division that was totally focused on e-commerce and really started from zero. I remember we launched the website and $0 the first day in sales. And so, the website process in and of itself was, one of the phases where we, had to build the website. But then after we went live, the work had just begun. It was, getting that feedback from the customers, iterating, making changes, putting that feedback into processes. And, it was a long process, but it was a very rewarding process. And so it can be done. There's tools out there. This cohort class can definitely help with that. I recommend Lean On agencies. They've been there, they've done it, they've seen different types of businesses and all sorts of industries. So, it's a very rewarding process that can be done. And this cohort is going to kind of break it down into digestible sections and walk everybody through it.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to give a shout out to our friends at the MEP. So, if you're not familiar with your MEP network, we've got John here from the Nebraska MEP, but whatever state you're coming from, there is an MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership, near you. Also, how about TAC? I got my friend Diane here from the TAC centers. So you want to check out your local. Hey, Diane, happy Tuesday to you. So, but let's dive in here. A lot of manufacturers out there, they're like, again, custom manufacturer, contract manufacturer, e-commerce isn't quite for me. Man, I heard this recently from a manufacturer, and this is, this can be tough, right? The question to the manufacturer was, why do you make it so hard to do business with you? Why do you make it so hard to buy from you? And so, Joseph, we're going to dig into that, but I just want to share, this was a post on LinkedIn. This was a public post, and this was from 3 hours ago. I put out a post making a comment about how a manufacturer shared that a customer there was like, man, like, dude, you're making it so hard to do business with you. Like, I want to do business with you, but it's hard. This person put up this quote here. Check this out. I went to a supplier's website yesterday, hoping to get a price of a piece of equipment, a commodity type thing. The website offered an instant quote. I filled out the form, no instant quote. I received an auto email, no instant quote. It's the next day, still no instant quote. So Joseph, can you please talk about, like, and here's my dear friend Chris Harrington. She says, for goodness gracious, Pete's sake, will you please just put the price of the O-ring out there? Joseph, why is it so important to get that price out there?
It's because that's what the customer wants, right? And so the problem here is with the idea of instant quote, people of course think like Jason thinks that he's going to get the price immediately. Kurt, can you go back 2 slides? I want to pull up that. There is a very important phrase that Jason put in here, maybe purposefully. He
Right.
used the term a commodity type thing. In other words, we're not talking about what I'm guessing to be this elaborate industrial piece of machinery that has 1,000 different configurations here. It
Right.
sounds like it's something that's pretty standardized in order to get. Now, from a custom company's perspective, and rightly so, they might be concerned, well, I don't want my pricing getting out there. I'm concerned my competitors are going to get it. We need to wall this off, that sort of, whatever the reason is there.
Right.
And it probably was a legitimate reason, but this is something a customer wants. By trying to protect your pricing, in this case, it actually is turning other customers away. And so it becomes a difficult balance, but I think the pendulum has very much swung in the way of we need to get our pricing out there or whatever it takes in order to help our customers get what they need. And in this case, they're looking for pricing, but I also question the term instant quote. We probably shouldn't be using that terminology here in a situation like this because it's not an instant quote. It's a normal quoting process, which is
Right.
understood. If that's what you need, call it a quote process.
Right. Right. Get quote fast. And if you're going to put it out there fast, then maybe back it up. Right. So,
That's right.
and we're going to dive into a couple examples here and let's dive in. So what we want to do, guys, is, everybody's busy. And here's a couple scary facts to think about. I was just talking with a woman this morning, Gen Z, the oldest Gen Z is now 27. Like they're not young, they're not kids in high school anymore. Like these are folks, these are business owners, entrepreneurs, supervisors, managers making business decisions. Millennials, the oldest millennial is 44. Like, they just want instant satisfaction, instant, Uber, instant, whatever. They want it fast. John, why is it so important to help that ideal buyer of ours make that buying decision on a Friday night at midnight and not have to wait for you to open up that door on Monday morning? Just talk about, being that 24-hour, sales experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the main reasons you want to do e-commerce. You only have your operating hours, usually 8 to 5 throughout the week. But it's not only that, a lot of these manufacturers and B2B have a sales force that can only reach so many people. A lot of them are regional and have grown and, been in business for 60, 80 years, but have not, made it out of their region. And so I think that's the beauty of e-commerce. Not only can you reach more people, you can use the power of Google search and start getting out there in the world, but also extend your hours. Anybody can shop at any time, so that you don't have to be there to answer the phone. They can shop at any time, after hours, weekends, any time of the week.
Yeah, I love that. And Joseph, I'm going to come back to you real quick. So we were talking about like that instant quote situation. Can you talk about, there's a thing called customer portal, okay? A customer
That's
portal.
right. Mhm.
Can you just like enlighten folks? So if that's new to anybody, so again, like, hey, I don't want to put my prices out there. I want my competition, but maybe what Jason was talking about back here, boy, if I had a customer portal, can you just explain what is that?
Yeah, so a customer portal is basically where you log in to your account. You have your email address and your password where you log into a website. And you have gone through some type of approval process typically where the sales team then gives you access to a specific price list or a specific set of prices. And in this type of a scenario, once you log in, you see your dealer only, your other special pricing, or even if you're a retail user, you see that specific pricing to you, which gives you instant access. It could be at 9 o'clock on a Friday evening or midnight on a Friday evening because you need to make this purchase decision very quickly, but you have access to that at your fingertips. The other thing about this customer portal, that not only can it give you your prices, it can even filter down your catalog of products if you need to disseminate this through your company. Maybe you've negotiated some super good deals on a list of products. But the other thing is it can give you, depending at the basic level, it's in name only, but more or less a Domino style pizza tracker system where your customers have this visibility into what the status of their order is. It's not like as fancy looking as something like that is out of the box, but it gives a textual, can give you a textual status of what this order is looking like in the process of the pipeline of being fulfilled, assembled, manufactured, whatever that step of that process is, which gives a really uh, powerful visibility into this process, which ensures that your customers are going to the website, or helps to ensure that they're going to the website, as opposed to calling you every day just to see what the status of this order is. So there's a couple of great features of a buyer portal. The one thing I forgot to mention there is reorders. So as your customers, as you make it easy for them to come back and reorder with just a click of a button. So maybe the initial sales process was involved. It took a salesperson time to help nail this down to the right specifications, but perhaps they need to come back and order that same piece of equipment again, or they need to they have to order parts for that piece of machinery, filters or blades or whatever. They're able to come back into their portal and do that really quickly.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility there. And just think like
Mm-hmm.
for the purchaser that needs a bundle, like they're buying certain
That's
products,
right. Mm-hmm.
it can make it so easy. Hey, our dear friend Diane has a question. And again, guys, if you're just joining us, drop your your name, LinkedIn in the chat box if you'd like to. And please feel free. We want to make this as rewarding, helpful, and valuable as possible for you. We appreciate your time. We never take that for granted. So we want this as much value for you. Diane has a great question here. All right, let's see. And I'm moving my Zoom around, make sure I read it correctly here, Diane. So she says, our client firms, manufacturers that sell business to business, they sometimes have difficult thinking that e-commerce can be business to business, not just business to consumer. This portal would be something to help them, correct? What do you think there, Joseph?
Absolutely. Yes, it's that. Well, so yeah, the portal has many advantages, but that would be one of those that would allow customers to be able to extend that further. Yes, I agree.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Dan, man, it was like our great minds think alike. We're perfectly aligned here. We have a little case study that we're going to show you. And what we want to do is we want your customers to be looking like these wonderful young people right here, just like Jason. Jason is looking for that instant quote. Well, if you say instant quote, let's give Jason an instant quote. Let's give Jason, the opportunity that he doesn't have to call us for the price on the O-ring, right? Let's give Jason the opportunity, like that Domino's example you just gave, Joseph, that I can find or track. I don't need to call you for tracking information. When I have a deep dive engineering challenge or problem, or I don't understand something about the products that you make, then I'll pick up the phone. But boy, when I just need the price of the O-ring or I need tracking, let me just look at that computer. Look at these, don't those young people? How about every Tuesday just looks like these young people right here, Diane, right? Okay. John Guest, the John Guest. We did a great project together. Again, Tori, this is for you, my friend. These are folks right in Buffalo. They're right down the street from Buffalo Bills Stadium. Though they're not Super Bowl champs like Joseph, he's Mr. Show-off, right?
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Not yeah, we weren't even close. But all right, so this is a company called Styco. And Styco was founded, man, they're 1 year older than I am. They were founded in 1967, just a great, wonderful made in USA company. They manufacture covert antennas, man. You talk just right here, made in USA. The president of the company, hey, here she is right there. So Kyle, she's a lovely woman sitting to my left. We went on site. We did a little, for those of you that are familiar with my live show, we did a little case study, success story. John, talk a little bit, and this was their phase one. Do me a favor, talk about how that process is so important for e-commerce, and then let's talk about how they jumped into big commerce and took on that customer portal for their phase one.
Absolutely. One of the things that Joseph mentioned was the pricing. It was important for Styco not to have their pricing. There needed to be that registration and process. They needed to have that approval for customers to get in there and be able to purchase. So that was one thing. But back to what you said about MVP, e-commerce was new to them, and they knew they were going to have to grow and learn as they went through that process. So, to keep things manageable, they had a really focused MVP part. So they were wanting to do the crawl, walk, run approach. Let's get online. Let's start transacting. Let's learn from our customers. Let's iterate from there. And so, they had an ERP. They didn't integrate with that right away. They were going to keep that part of it manual, knowing they could do that down the line. And, they're a small staff. They knew they were going to be stretched for resources. So we had what we called was an accelerator build. It was, really focused in on what they needed to transact online. So of course we had shipping, we had payment, things like that. But the big thing that we focused on was the products. Let's get the products on there. Let's get them in the right navigation, the right categories. Let's get that registration process working. Let's launch with a minimum viable product, an MVP approach, and then let's learn, let's get feedback, and let's grow from there. And what that allowed them to do was to take what sometimes can be a 6-8 month project. We were able to do it in around 3. They were up online transacting, and like I said, can get that feedback and start making it better. Maybe they integrate with the ERP down the line. And so it's an approach we really like to take a lot of times, especially for clients that, this is all new to them. They're biting off a lot. Let's keep it focused and keep it a minimum viable product in the front end.
Yeah. And thank you. That was a great example. And what I want to really hit, the point I want to hit here for everybody is just how important it is to understand that ideal buyer. Now, if anybody has gone through any of my webinars, workshops in the past, I have a little tagline. So that ideal buyer is called Diane, right? Our soulmates. Who's your ideal buyer? Who's that person out there that, man, you just really deliver top product? The very first thing we did for Styco was like, hey, we need to understand who is that buyer. We came up with 3 distinct buyers here. And so not about Styco, it's all about you. Think about, your ideal buyers. Who's your soulmate? So, what we decided was, hey, it's James, the engineer. James is, he's working for maybe a train or some type of a transportation company, geeky engineer. So like our language, our communication, our e-commerce strategy needs to really speak to James. What challenges is he facing? Now, this is a really fascinating dynamic. And the reason I'm showing this, because another soulmate of theirs is field agent Scott. Well, guess what? Scott has a little bit of different stress and different pressure points than James does. Not that, everybody doesn't have stress, but field agent Scott, he's protecting his agents. His life's on the line every day. It is mission critical that he has quality covert antennas on their vehicles. And then last person is Nick, purchasing agent Nick. So what we wanted to do when we went in, like every decision that we made on that website, it was really, we were asking ourselves constantly, how can we do the best job we can for James? What can we do for Scott? What do we need to do for Nick? How about Scott's life's on the line today? And he's on, on his mobile phone out in the field, needing to make a purchase. So Joseph, come at us here. Talk a little bit about, how, and we're going to dive into like how at SwiftOtter, you guys really do this. But when you tackle projects with your clients, why is it so important understanding that ideal buyer first and foremost?
Because it's basically the foundation of the project. It's like if you don't understand your buyer, it's like building a house without pouring that cement slab or those foundation walls underneath the house. It's not going to go well. I mean, you might have a beautiful website, but give it a couple of years, that website's not going to be transacting. It's not going to be hitting the mark that you want it to hit, just like a house will be starting to fall apart given a couple cycles of frost heave. It's not going to go well. So in this case, understanding who your buyers are is critical. So at a surface level, we typically look for in websites like this, these 3 categories, and you've outlined them well here. So basically we have a technical, like an architect, engineer. These are technical people wanting the details. We'll usually have an end user, and then we have a persona for a dealer, kind of like a middle person there. So in this type of a conversation, we want to make sure that the needs of each one of these groups of people as they pertain to this brand going online is met. So for example, the technical users, they don't care about the price for the product. In most of the cases, they're interested in the specifications. What is the voltage for this? What is the output power for this? What certifications does this comply with? That kind of engineering speak. They're also going to be wanting to see the drawings, perhaps the user manuals too. So that's the technical group. We need to make sure that their needs are well addressed on the website. When I say well addressed, it's easy to find information about these products. They're not going to be digging through the search bar and the menu and the help section. Like the information is right there. And ideally, we usually find it on the product page, well documented there. The field agent in this case, or the end user, they will be potentially looking at pricing, although this is slightly different. And that's why it's good to be digging into the details, because if the field agent might not actually, in this case of Styco or whoever was this was for, is probably not going to be as interested in pricing, but they're going to be looking for user manuals, contact information, etc. In this case, and that's, again, the nuance is critical here, the purchasing agent, they're going to want pricing, that their specific pricing for this product. And so that's where we have these typical 3 profiles, but for given user, they're going to shift, they're going to adjust a little bit, and we have to make sure that the website is perfectly in tune with that, making sure that they can get the information they need as quickly, as easily as possible, so that they are not required to have to pick up the phone. Now, again, like you said earlier, if they want to pick up the phone, we're not going to stop them. In fact, that's why we strongly recommend putting contact information in prominent places on the website to again, make the website not quite as transactional. You're accessible, you're easy to reach. And so in those cases that they do want to pick up the phone, and just make sure that there's a human on the other end. You're not talking to some AI robot, right?
That's right.
That is capable as well. So that's how we usually address those type of conversations.
Well, fantastic. I love it. And what's cool is, like, they're manufacturing product, as we're saying here, for, first responders, military, that type of thing. So this is a perfect example where a lot of manufacturers like, wow, we're not selling to consumers. This is a perfect example. And I love how you broke them down in 3 buckets. John, anything else that you want to add, going through the process?
Yeah, I think he nailed it. I think the one thing I would add, we were talking about B2B portals, a lot of those B2B tools within those platforms out there have quick order as well. Purchasing agents are a great example. They love to go in. A lot of times they have long orders. A lot of times they have repeat orders, which the reorder may help, but quick order is another thing where they can quickly type in SKUs, add to the order. A lot of them even have the ability to upload a CSV. So the purchasing agent could have their CSV, upload it. All of those are in the cart, ready to check out. So again, it's understanding those different buyer personas, but how do they shop? For the ones that are shopping, what tools do they need to make it easy on them where they want to do business with you, and they'll keep coming back.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one thing I want to add, so, a lot of manufacturers, and we're going to do a deep dive with the cohort, is, a little bit on like that SEO keyword strategy. And hey, my friend Whitney's here. Whitney, you need to drop your LinkedIn in the chat box. She's a marketing extraordinaire. And so, one thing you want to think about is, well, I do CNC for anybody or everybody, or I make, circuit boards, or, 3D printing. We're trying to be everything to everybody. I couldn't encourage you enough. You really want to narrow that niche down, get that focus. And that's what e-commerce does for you, is it allows you to get, go down into buckets. Let's go here. This is anybody that comes to our workshops, comes to our programs, catches our live show. This is one of our favorite taglines. And we try to practice what we preach here, is how do you out-teach the competition? How do you out-teach the competition? What on earth does that mean? Now, Joseph, dude, the admiration, respect I have for you. You guys are doing an amazing, incredible job at SwiftOtter. So SwiftOtter is an e-commerce agency founded 12 years ago by my friend here, Joseph. Joseph, you practice what you preach. Can you talk, before I dig into a couple examples, when you started your company at a very, very young age, what inspired you to like, hey, I'm going to come out as a fierce educator? Can you just kind of walk us through that?
Sure, absolutely. So starting it back, that was 12 years ago, I needed something to differentiate myself. And at the time, certifications were very popular in this very small niche of the industry that I was working in. And I knew that in order to prove my value, my worth, I needed to get certified. In fact, there was 7 certifications that covered this application. I got every single freaking one of them. Like I had to get them all. It was kind of like a drug, or I couldn't stop. And so what ended up happening is, as time progressed, people new version of the application, etc. I needed to get a new I wanted to update my certifications, of course, but other people started saying, hey, can you help me out here? And that's really how it started. It started from me getting certified. And actually, one key element here I forgot to say, when I was 15 years old, I studied for and I passed the CompTIA A+ certification. It's 2 tests. basically saying you know everything about hardware and software. I got that when I was 15 years old, and I think that's what started this drive for education, and it really clicked for me because it's one thing for an e-commerce agency to be a service provider, and there's a dime a dozen, there's a ton of them out there, right? Basically, hey, we'll build your website for you. But it's a totally different thing to say, okay, we can build your website for you, but we're also going to teach you what it takes to master this website yourself. And that's part of what we're doing here with this e-commerce cohort coming up. We want to teach you what we know, the process, get you the full big picture as far as what does it take to be an e-commerce online, because on one hand, it is easy and it's a really great avenue. But on the other hand, there are some challenges that unless you understand these challenges, it could complicate, well, it will complicate your ability to truly succeed. And that's where my goal is to help merchants in this case, but I've done it for technical users for what, 6 years now, somewhere in there, 6 years. We've done it for 6 years, helping people understand how to be better at the profession.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so what I want to do from here is I want to talk about, like, I want to break down a web page. So it doesn't matter if manufacturer, distributor, what product you're selling, a service. It's what it is we were talking about, like B2B, B2C. It's H to H. It's human to human. It's how to
That's right.
connect with human. And we're talking about, I want to go back. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go back to a couple pages here. How about these guys right here? What we want to do is we want to make a great first web impression. What do they say? You've got 3 seconds to make a great first impression. And when you're online, it's mobile on somebody's desktop. Are you speaking the right language? And what are we selling? Every day, what are we selling? One word only, pop quiz, trust. That's
right.
what we're selling on a daily basis. So I want to break this web page down and let's just look. And again, you're like, hey, well, wait a minute. This is an e-commerce firm. It's what they do. Exactly. These guys are setting the standard high, and we want to apply the same strategy to manufacturers and look at the success here. So, Joseph, you're a very humble guy. Why don't you sit back? I'm going to brag about you for a minute. He didn't know that I was
Okay.
going to do this, so he might turn
Okay.
a little shade of red. So Adobe Commerce, which used to be Magento. So Adobe Commerce, on my live show yesterday, we just interviewed a wonderful woman from Adobe Commerce. So when you hear Adobe, yeah, it's that Adobe, PDFs, all that stuff, monster, gazillion-dollar company. They have an e-commerce solution. Joseph, you offer a training for folks. And so I want to break this down. So now, whether you're manufacturing a widget, you're a contract manufacturer, this is all about you. It's not about us or Joseph. We want to show we're taking a process down. Okay. Our training is used by the best to be the best. It's you, like, look what they did there. They're not talking about themselves. They're talking about their soulmates are the best so they can be the best. He's not saying like, oh, we're the best, you need to buy from us. They're saying, no, we're doing this for the best people to help them better their lives, right? So think about your product, your service, what you do, and how can we get a tagline on your website that does that? That is textbook. Since 2018, SwiftOtter has helped, by our estimates, almost 10,000 people get certified. Joseph, how on goodness gracious, how did you do it, my friend? How do you help that many people?
It's honestly a pleasure. It's a privilege to be able to help that many people. We started back in 2018, and I had no idea it was going to blow up to be this place. To get to this place, people needed help getting certified, and it was honestly answering a major need in the industry. It was an answer for that, and so we were able to get out there to be able to help people understand the process. In fact, we actually even were able to help write some of these certifications. So we were involved in that standard setting, that process, to ensure these are good quality certifications. The big challenge is, and that's why I use that tagline to help you be the best, help the best be the best, is this Magento 2 space is very, very difficult. Magento 2 is an enterprise application, and developers need to be highly qualified to do it. Otherwise, the whole process just kind of can fall apart. And so that was our goal. And based off of the number of people that have gone through this program who've been highly successful, we actually ran certification programs for free. It was January through April, or February through April, somewhere in there, for quite a few years, helping people get up to speed, get certified as a group. For me, I don't like working out by myself. I have a hard time getting out of bed if I'm going to work out by myself. It's just who I am. Working out with a class of people as far as exercise goes, count me in every day of the week. I love it. Well, almost every day. I didn't work out today, but that was the idea with those certification programs. And we were able to help. We've helped thousands and thousands of people. And again, I think it's, from what we've estimated, I can't necessarily prove it. Otherwise, I would say 10,000, but we've helped a ton of people get certified.
Okay. And so again, what I want, I'm trying to make this as applicable as possible for the folks in the audience here. Joe, we talked about how we broke this down into 3 buckets: a little bit technical, somebody in purchasing, somebody that's actually using the product. Okay. So
That's
maybe
right.
it's maintenance Murray, maybe it's, engineering Elsa, maybe, purchasing, Patrick or Pam, right? So what they did here is they have their 2 buckets of their soulmates. So again, I want you guys thinking about, like Tori, this be applicable for you, or Susan, your business, who are those soulmates? Here's who we're speaking to. Here's the engineer. Here's the purchaser. In their case, here's the developer. Here's the merchant. Now, here's what I really love right here. What did I just say? Every single one of us, we're selling on a daily basis that word trust. John, talk a little bit about like how, and when you're working with your clients. I've had the honor and privilege. You and I have been on site in Texas. We've been together in Buffalo, working together with clients. I know this is a big, big tagline for you. Talk a little bit about how important it is, or what are some things that folks could be doing to resonate that trust with their ideal customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't get any easier than what we're looking at right now. Who do you work with? What are recognizable names out there that are trustworthy, and making sure that you're putting that anywhere you can on your website. One thing that we preach all the time to customers who are doing e-commerce is get that trust badge everywhere on the site, not just on your homepage, not just on the About Us page. If you think about it, a lot of people are Googling, and that's how they get to your site. So they may land on some random product page. It needs to be everywhere. That trust factor, like you said, Kurt, you talk it all the time. It's because it's important. It's important. You need to, within seconds, trust that website that you're on. Understand what their value prop is. Understand that they, have a secure website, things like that. And in a matter of seconds, feel good about your experience. Feel good about adding a product to the cart and making it through the rest of that process. Fun fact: I also used SwiftOtter before I worked here. Used their guides to pass the Adobe Business Practitioner Expert exam, and so read the study guides, took the practice test, and that's actually how I got acquainted with Joseph and ended up working under him. But it speaks volumes. I'm one of those 10,000. How about that?
That is awesome. That is such a great story. And I'm going to jump ahead one slide here. Let's get back in that social proof. Then I'm going to come back.
Absolutely.
Joseph, talk a little bit about like that level of trust. And again, guys, what I'm encouraging you here as we're trying to build that trust, how about social proof? Okay. Now, what Joseph's done here is he's calling out testimonials. Joseph, talk a little bit about how important getting, out of 10,000 people, you just got a wonderful testimonial, a video testimonial from our friend John here. How important is it to get these testimonials on our websites as manufacturers?
I cannot overstate how important it is. And here's why. Customers want to see from other people if this is legit or not. Ultimately, that's why you have now challenges buying off of Amazon. I'm going to sound contradictory here for a second, because these sellers on Amazon have figured out how to game or scam the system. That's why you have things like Fake Spot, some of those tools. The key point is we're not going to have those type of problems for the most part on our websites, and hopefully we wouldn't game those reviews. But those that I'm using that as an illustration to show just how important it is to get people to review your product. And there are strategies to doing it. It has to be a conscious effort, because how many of us just love to go and put comments on a website as far as what a great product it is? Like, it has to be so unbelievably amazing. But there are some strategies that we'll be talking about in this cohort on how to do this. And I want to call out a real quick point here, is that just launching a website, you might say anybody can do that, but launching a website that sells it kind of takes you to the whole other end of the spectrum where there is thousands and thousands, millions of articles on everything you kind of need to do. So on one hand, it's like you could just get the website out there, but on the other hand, the optimizations and the reviews and the social proof and all that stuff, all the different pieces end up in millions of articles. So how do you know actually what to do, where to go? And that's really where this cohort comes in. We boil down our experience in these specific pieces, such as getting reviews, getting the social proof on your website, how to display it becomes knowable. It becomes doable as opposed to having to sift through all these articles online.
Yeah, I love that. And again, so let's back up one step, and I want to talk about like the customer experience here. So again, you're
Mhm.
targeting developer training, such as our friend John. And again, your manufacturer out there, you might be like, hey, wait a minute, you guys are, it doesn't matter, like whatever that service is that you're providing, what's step one, what's step two, what's that, crawl, walk, run experience that you would love your customer to have, and how can you walk them through? Joseph, do you
Mhm.
want to just share a little bit what's going on this page?
Absolutely. So our goal is to help customers understand first that we are highly capable, that we will help them get what they need in this scenario. So as they come in here wanting to get certified, that is a pain point. There are managers jumping on their desk. That's generally what the motivation is, or they want to get certified. Uh, we help address that pain point, and that's what we're helping to do. We're in this slide, this picture here of our page. We are helping present the picture for them to make that motivation intrinsic. So here is what I get out of this. This is a career development opportunity that is going to basically putting money in the career bank, if you will, making that investment there so that I can get to that next level in my career. And that is our goal in this type of a scenario is we want to help give them the bigger picture. And again, for merchants, the way that this can also be portrayed is your customers have these pain points. They are needing your product, even if it's a spring to go in a product that you're manufacturing. That is a need, a pain point that you have. That of course you would not be able to facilitate that manufacturing process without that spring. And so, getting that spring on time to the right quality, et cetera, is absolutely critical. And so, as a manufacturer of springs in this type of scenario, you might consider your product boring. Well, the reality is it's not boring because you are answering pain points and needs. And so then it comes down to this product page presenting how you solve these pain points, i.e., the benefits. And this goes through a whole section that we also are going to talk about. It's easy to talk about the features. This is a stainless steel spring. And it's, I don't know all the specifications of a spring, but like it
Yeah.
goes through all these details of a spring. But reality is, we need those information. Your engineers, on the other hand, are on the other side, will need to know that this is a stainless steel spring of this type of diameter, of this type of coils, etc. But they also need to understand what sets this spring apart as a benefit. So whether it's your delivery time, whether it's uh, the reason that stainless steel is helpful, because you also are going to have some part of your audience that will need to know why they should buy a stainless steel spring versus a spring steel spring. I'm mixing this up. I don't know
Yeah,
much
yeah.
about springs myself, but you kind of get the idea. Is we need to present this information to the customer. Again, like Kurt mentioned earlier, there's the soulmate in the format that they want to digest it in the format that resonates with them. And we're never going to hit that format unless we have boiled down and have a clear picture of who is actually using the website and what formats they actually need.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely love that. Let's keep it going here. So I love what you've done is you described, here's your background, here's your
Mhm.
credentials, here's your story. And the last thing is, how will getting certified help me? How will buying how will buy this product, this spring that you're just describing, that covert antenna, packaging, I think Tori, we were talking about labeling, whatever the product is that you provide, whatever solution is, how will this
Mhm.
help that other person? John, anything that you want to tie in here, maybe from as a customer perspective, to SwiftOtter that you want to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Joseph touched on it. It's a thing in our industry to get certified. It's something that's expected of you. A lot of us, like me, who like to geek out on this stuff, want to learn that and want to take that next level.
Mhm.
It is a career booster. You get those certifications. It's going to help you in your career. I will say, been to a lot of schooling in my life. I have my MBA. that Adobe certification is the toughest exam I've ever taken in my life. And
Oh,
so, you know, these aren't easily attainable. They are very, very tough exams. And, you know, so as a customer of that, I needed that assistance. I needed those practice tests. I needed those guides to help me prep for that. And, you know, it will help you in your career.
And the big thing I love about this page is, you know, you take here, you know, there's a 100-page study guide. So now maybe you're not offering a 100-page study guide on your product, your process, that spring, you know, circuit boards, whatever that you manufacture, but you certainly could offer a buying guide regardless of what your service is, right? I'm looking at my friend Diane at TAC or our friends at the MEP Center. I have my e-commerce guides. You know, like we can put out a guide. Again, how do we help our soulmate? How do we make their day just a little bit better, a little bit easier, a little bit more
That's right.
understandable of what do we do? What do we provide? All right, let's start. I know we're starting to come into time a little bit here. So, Joseph, let's go here for folks out there. You know, we through whether training, coming to webinars, workshops, a lot of marketers, a lot of entrepreneurs. It's lonely out there, right? I know, like I'm a solopreneur. It gets lonely. It's why I want to team up with you guys, hang out with my friend Diane, John at the Nebraska MEP, hang out with all these folks. Is because like we're longing for community. And a great way to build community is when we have an opportunity to do things with each other, and you don't have to be alone, and you don't have to make all these mistakes. Talk a little bit about why it's so important to have, you know, trusted guides, resources, and let's do it with you concept. That's for Joseph.
I missed that. I thought you said John. Okay.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. So being able to do this together, again, the goal is to leverage the knowledge that we've gained over the years. Kurt bringing a whole bunch of knowledge into, we work together to boil this down into a system that is going to help you be successful. And that's the key point is this community where we just like Diane said there, I love it. We are better together. And so these classes is not a Kurt, John, and I just speaking at you. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. And so, yes, there is some training that we will be delivering, but it's in bite-sized chunks where we then work through what we call a worksheet, a work guide, which then allows you to make this your own, and then you bring the results, the findings back in the class. So we're going to be taking breaks. It's going to be very collaborative, a lot of great dialogue, which then allows us to be able to respond to those comments, those questions, and enriches the conversation there here through the classes. So very, very strong community. And I'm really excited about that because that makes what our knowledge that we're bringing to the table even more relevant to those that are able to participate.
Yeah, great. And so I know as we start winding down, we're going to save time for questions. So, and as a matter of fact, if anybody wants to, if you have any questions whatsoever, e-commerce, maybe your product line, if we want to geek out a little bit, we've got time. We would absolutely love to dive in. Again, wonderful opportunity to connect and engage with each other. Let's talk a little bit, John, while we're kind of winding things down. Talk a little bit about the cohort itself and just you know, what can folks expect?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this a little bit when I was on the when I was on the merchant side. It would have been great to have a course like this. You know, I was feeling my way through it, leaning on my agency for the website build part of it, but, you know, learned after the fact that many pieces were missed. We're going to, as Joseph said, break this down into chunks. We're going to handle the vision on the front end. We're going to make sure that you understand what that whole process is going to look like before we dive into it. Then we're going to tackle the more important pieces like navigation. It's a very important part. We're going to give you tools to help be able to figure out that navigation. We're going to look at your competition. We're going to, you know, look at your product set. As Joseph mentioned, there's going to be workshops for us to really get specific. We're going to work together to build those pieces out. We're going to look at your product display pages. We're going to look at the checkout process. And so our goal is for you to be able to walk away from this with a clear vision, a clear path to go back to your team and become that champion. And, you know, get that internal buy-in and really lay out on the table what that entire process is going to look like. And, we're not going to mince words in it. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear. E-commerce is hard. Building the website, you're not done. And so we're going to be very real, be very authentic, try to give you an idea of what that process is going to look like from beginning to end so you can be successful.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love it. Joseph, why don't you take us home, brother? Let's talk a little bit about the dates and what folks could expect. And
Yeah. Yeah. So it's 5 weeks. We're going to have a hour-and-a-half conversation each week. Meetings will be recorded. So if you got spring break or you get sick or something like that, unfortunately, that happens. You'll be well taken care of. You won't be able to join in the live conversation in that case, but you'll be able to catch it after the fact, which is, still pretty good. We have every one of the, most of these weeks, we have except for the Easter week, we have a office hours. In other words, we're going to be here for 1 hour on that Friday. Each one of these Fridays, 3 Fridays here in this, through the course of this class. Bring your questions. If you have questions, or you need advice, feedback, we will dive in personally for you. In this type of a scenario. Now, one other cool thing with this cohort is we've actually been able to negotiate with one of our partners to give you a fully enabled e-commerce, fully B2B enabled e-commerce platform, such that if you don't already have an e-commerce store up, you just kind of want to fool around, just kind of follow along, see what's going on, get your feet wet, whatever other idiom or analogy I want to put in there. Like, you will have capability to be able to do that. So this course is going to be highly practical, not something you're just going to be like a whole bunch of head knowledge and not, but how actually do I do this? You're not going to have that question. As you participate, you will have this burned into your head, very practical, very usable, real life knowledge.
absolutely. So that's going to be awesome. So, all right, guys, as we wind down, I want to be mindful of everybody's time. And if you have any questions whatsoever on your e-commerce journey, maybe any frustrations, challenges, we'd love to tackle those right now. I'm going to put, here's our email contact information. Please, if you want to give a screenshot, or again, we've dropped our LinkedIn profile in the chat box. I don't know, Joseph, if you want to drop the link for the training, you could drop that in the chat box if you don't mind, or John, one of you guys. And so so while we're winding down, are there any questions? I'd love to address anything. Give a shout out to Tori, to Whitney, Julie, Erica. Any questions? Our friend John is here today from Nebraska. Diane Byer. Hi, Diane. Any questions that you guys have? And I know it's this is March Madness at its peak right here, right? This is like you're looking at March Madness coming at us right here. So, right, John Guess, right?
Can't wait. Go Cats.
That's right. So, all right, if we don't have any questions, again, if you're on a shy side, please reach out to us individually, one-on-one. We'd love to talk to you further. Reach out to your local MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Tori, I talked to the folks at Insight. So I've got a lot of exciting information for you there. And reach out to our friends at TAC, right, Diane? Our friends at TAC are always crushing it. Huge supporters of manufacturers all across the great United States. So if there aren't any further questions, thank you, Whitney Houston. Appreciate you as always. I just got to meet. I was with Whitney. We were at the Industrial Marketing Summit. Man, Whitney, I miss you already, my friend. That was such a great time. So, okay. All right, guys, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Joseph, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with folks as we close out?
Looking forward to it. Thanks for bringing us on, Kurt. Really appreciate it, man.
John Guess, any questions, any comments, thoughts, words of wisdom you want to share?
Same thing. I had a blast. Thanks for bringing us along and looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Awesome. All right, guys. Have a wonderful, amazing rest of your week. Be awesome, be inspiring, and just if you need anything, reach out to us. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right.
Okay. That was couple quality that was
I
man,
think it's still recording. FYI.
that was yeah.